Good evening, everybody. Coming to you live from Power Play Sports and Collectible Sports Store in the Boulevard Mall in the heart of Las Vegas. You are watching Thoughts Count Anywhere. My name is Seth. Our panel, gentlemen, please sign in.
Hey, this is Matt.
Disputed Johnny Rock.
Well, there's some debate about that, but maybe not undisputed, but we'll debate about it. Thank you for tuning in. This is
I'm wearing the shirt.
And John Cena.
Very red, white, and blue.
Yes, well, patriotic that way. Thank you for tuning in. Make sure when you come upon our show, please reshare this feed back direct to your wall so your friends and family can join us. As always, the podcast can not only be right here on Facebook as soon as this show ends, but you will find us soon on YouTube. All the videos will be uploaded to a YouTube channel. And Matt, please share with us our audio homes, please.
We're on Google Play, Stitcher, Spotify, iTunes, and TuneIn.
SoundCloud. You can't have any. So watch our show. You've got plenty of choices. And watch us live. Why? Because fans who come join us, the sealed envelopes that were hermetically sealed in a mayonnaise jar on the porch of Funk and Wagnall. Okay, I just made an old reference. I don't know how many people know what that refers to, but I see Scott is out there, and I know he does. You guys know what I was referring to?
I think I do, but I would say they're more protected than the Oscar results, just not from like 3 years ago.
That's right. Johnny Carson show. That's right.
Hey.
Okay, please share us.
Sir.
You are correct, sir. Yes. All right. So, folks, you're going to see a little bit of a new layout with our show beginning tonight, and we're going to have some introduced segments, topics, concepts. You'll hear from the guys, you'll hear from me, separately, individually, all together, however we feel. So we're going to get started off with a segment that, for now, is titled I Hear Voices. And that segment is geared around rumors around the wrestling industry, gentlemen. So where would you like to begin? Johnny, you just brought up one just before we went on the air. Why don't we start with that one?
Well, it's the fact that we have two guys holding a title in WWE who have not officially re-signed their contracts and have been long rumored, or I guess dream booked, to make the jump to AEW, and that would be the top guys in the Revival, currently the SmackDown Tag Team Champions.
Now, do we not see some irony here? We have champs with gold around their waist, and they're not signed to any kind of contract.
Well, I mean, it could be a work, it could be a swerve. I don't know what it could be. They could be just suddenly dropping the titles next Friday on SmackDown, for all we know. I guess dream booked.
All right, whose mics are still on? That's me.
Come on.
I just broke Cardinal rule number 1. Hello, Carla. Thank you for joining us out there. Scott, I don't know what part of the country you're in now, but I know you're watching us. I see somebody else is out there. Please reshare us to your Facebook wall for your fans to see. So what's your thoughts, Matt, on the Revival holding the belts, but yet they are not re-signed as of reportedly rumored, not a new one with WWE?
I think that, they've always been rumored to be leaving, not happy with what they're doing. I think we'll find out around the season premiere of SmackDown whether they're about to leave or not. They'll quickly be dropping some gold.
Well, did we not go through this with them about a year ago? And that is why one of the reasons, allegedly, that they put the belts on them last time they were having some contract issues, or they were unhappy where they were on the card, so they were the champs the first time.
Initially, they were unhappy and they asked for their release.
Right.
However, with the previous year that the guys have had, they've won the gold multiple times. They've been featured in a number of I wouldn't say high profile feuds, because the tag team division is not as high profile as it should be.
All right, I agree with that.
They got paired with Randy Orton. That's pretty big.
That is pretty big, and that's a pretty good rub. So that could be a good step on the way to keeping them under contract. However, I mean, if a Shield reunion wasn't enough to keep Dean Ambrose, John Moxley happy, who knows what they're planning. And I know, there's been, for 5 years now, they've been feuding with the Young Bucks on Twitter, and that's a match that everybody seems to really want to see.
Yeah.
And I myself included. And with the emphasis that AEW is putting on tag team wrestling, with what we've already seen AEW put out with tag team wrestling, it might be a really desirable location for Dash and Dawson to, want to go to. I can't blame them if they do make the jump. And, of course, my fandom will follow them, from one company to the other, because I love those guys. I think they're two of the best tag team wrestlers in the world.
Top guys doing top guy thing.
Yep. And even though currently they're on top, they could still go higher.
Where do you see the ceiling for these guys? Obviously, they've got the belts. Is it maybe a switch to SmackDown at some point to go after those belts?
Well, they're already the SmackDown champions.
I mean, the other side. Have they won both?
Yeah, they've won both now.
Oh, okay. So they have captured both. So
they are Triple Crown Tag Team Champions.
So what's the next play for them to stay in WWE?
Break the New Day's record.
For how many title holds?
Or length.
Okay.
I mean, the New Day a few years ago broke Demolition's record, but that was pretty much to bury Demolition.
Okay, makes sense. What are the rumors you have there, fellas? How about rumors for the big SmackDown show next week debuting on Fox? There was a rumor out there about an alleged mega return. Who do you think that could be?
You're talking about an electrifying return?
Who layeth the SmackDown?
The most electrifying return in sports entertainment?
It is his show, for God's sake.
It is The Rock show.
And it happens to be the 20th anniversary of the show as well. So how can you have some sort of anniversary show without The Rock on his show?
Well, The Rock did not show up at SmackDown 1000.
That is true. He was unable to.
The Rock is a very, very busy man.
Yeah. Although, as we said a few weeks ago on the show, he's not too busy to do a favor for a friend.
True that.
In terms of?
Oh, when he dipped out on his honeymoon to cover for Kevin Hart.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Yes, that is very true. That is very true. So, all right. So do you guys believe The Rock will show up?
I'll be pleasantly surprised if he does. I think what we might get is a pre-recorded video package. The Rock is a busy man.
He is.
I think he's going to be there. I think he's doing promotion for his new Disney movie, so he could break off for a day. It's in L.A.
It's true.
It would make sense.
Gotta go far.
Right? It would make sense if that would happen. All right. Any other rumors? Did you guys come across any that we may want to touch on?
Well, then there's the supposed Rey Mysterio rumor.
Okay, you want to elaborate for the audience?
So they were teasing a Dominic heel turn.
Right.
Just sometime in the near future with all this buildup that Rey Mysterio has been getting. Personally, I think it's a little too soon for something like that. I'd like to see them because obviously the WWE is very high on Rey's son Dominic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't know at what point he is at in his training, but they're definitely intent on featuring on TV. He's already expressed desire. He's in training to be a wrestler. And my only thing is that he's more going the Randy Orton route than the David Flair route. I hope that he does have even a fraction of his father's talent. Because if he does, then, Rey Mysterio the Third or RM3 or whatever they want to package him as, I think could be a star in the making. But it all depends on how good is, as Bruce Pritchard would say, ding, and then the bell rings. How good is he between the ropes? We've seen nothing of him in the ring.
He's been down at the Performance Center now for a little bit, and of course, he got a taste of some in-ring exposure with the storyline with Samoa Joe earlier this year, where there was talk of possibly turn against Ray there at some point, or at least physically get involved against Joe at some point. And of course, it never panned out because then Ray got injured when he lost the belt to Joe.
Yeah, I mean, that injury was so ill-timed because you could clearly tell they had some plans for Ray, and they never got to materialize. Although I like the way they're using him now. He's got this one last ride thing going on, and I think they're probably going to carry it through to WrestleMania. And if there is a Dominic heel turn, we might see it around the times of probably maybe around the Royal Rumble, or Fastlane, or whatever the February pay-per-view is going to be from now on.
I want to just mention a couple of folks in the chat room. Sammy Fountain, new fan, and he is here live. Thank you. Right there. He's actually here in the store with us, and that means, you know what that means? Sam is going to be the first one to receive one of these envelopes, right?
Right? Yes, he is.
You as one of the fans, Sammy, you get one of these envelopes. Actually, there's 3 more up there, so I'm going to let the card dealer up here. We're going to play a game of chance. You can select whichever one you want. He'll hold them face down for you. And then you can open it up, and then you can share with us what you got in there. So there'll be 3 more we have. We have three more to give out for folks who come down. Mm-hmm. So we want to thank Sammy for being here. Carla, thank you for watching. Gina Morelli says time for all wrestlers to retire. I'm not sure how to take that.
Wow.
Thomas Brunette says it's way too soon for Dominic heel turn.
If all wrestlers retired, we wouldn't have a show.
We wouldn't be here.
We wouldn't be here.
We would just be talking about air.
A lot of extra TV time.
Well, we talk about football.
Yes, we could. And by the way,
defeated 49ers.
Since Scott is still out of town, and I don't know what parts unknown he is actually in right now, but this wall behind us you know, as a Giants fan, although I see Giants right up over the Jets thing behind
Yeah.
Johnny, I know we're blocking Cowboys this week. I don't see much Cowboys behind
No,
me.
no, you got that
Right above
I'm
you.
looking right
above me?
big ugly star.
Where? Right there? Oh, you know, I feel like I'm a weatherman in front of a green screen here.
You know, so there are days I drive around Las Vegas and I feel like the Cowboys are their home team here because there are so many Cowboys fans here in Las Vegas. And
crazy.
I'm like, why? Do you people live in the past?
All right, since we've been talking about WWE, we got the big show coming. Let's roll right into some of our thoughts about Raw and SmackDown this past week. When we start there, we could talk about NXT a little bit. Of course, tonight's another NXT show, which, by the way, here's a spoiler for our fans. In the coming couple of weeks, we are going to be adjusting our show time so that our shows will cover Wednesday night's NXT card, so that when we come back on air right after that, we can actually talk live in the current cycle, so to speak, of what took place. Because anything we talk about tonight's from last week, and we don't want to be a week behind and all that. So look for that change coming real soon.
I do want to discuss some NXT, though, because a lot of important things happened last week. But we'll get to that. Let's start with Raw.
All right. What do you want to pick on Raw? The Fiend made another appearance.
I thought it was great having him take out Braun Strowman.
And Strowman fought back a little bit.
Oh yeah,
he?
he had to like use both hands for the mandible claw. It's like
a big boy.
It's a big old boy right there.
So what does it say though that Seth the week before was cowering in the corner and showed his fear about the Fiend when he was attacked? Then he sat in a corner this last week while Braun was being attacked, right? And didn't do anything. So what kind of, here you got Braun who's been attacked and he's trying to fight out of it, once or twice.
Rollins fears the Fiend. I think they're really, like, even in Seth's opening promo, it was mostly a recap and a rehash, but he did say, like, okay, I've done a lot of things in my career, and this is the only thing that's really, like, freaked me out. So I like that Seth is playing up the whole fear angle. He's afraid of Bray Wyatt, and he's playing it perfectly.
Okay.
So this feud, I really like what they've done with it so far. If you can even call it a feud, it's really just been like a man talking to video promos.
Yeah, pretty much.
But
that's about right.
Another guy coming out and scaring the living crap out of the other one.
However, did you hear that they may have botched it during the dark match segment?
Yep. And do you want to explain what happened?
So after Raw went off the air, because they had the Fiend taking out Braun Strowman, Seth is cowering in the corner, fade to black, creepy laugh. Raw goes off the air, but then see, like a lot of the time, if you've ever been to a Raw or SmackDown taping, they'll do a dark match after that. Usually, like 90% of the time, baby faces go over the heels. It sends the fans home happy. So rather than have everybody go to the back and reset the table, so to speak, they just kept Seth and Bray in the ring, which they've mixed it up together as at house shows, which is pretty
standard
standard for WWE to do. But in this one, they had Seth go over Bray, like stomp him a few times, and then you stop. I'm tired of hearing.
That's not me. That's not me this time.
Wow, Cardinal rules, guys.
That's not me. I learned mine.
So anyway,
it's our first time on radio, folks.
You like derailed me here. All right, so basically, I forget how the finish of the match goes, but it basically Seth wound up hitting the stomp on Bray like 3 or 4 times,
right?
Kind of like he did to Strowman at Clash of Champions. And then the lights went black, and I think the finish was supposed to be like Bray was going to disappear.
Yeah, but not dark enough.
But they didn't turn the lights off enough, and there's actually video footage of Bray just roll out of the ring and book it to the back.
Right.
And it came off as very cowardly. Like if you watched that with no context and no idea of what was going on, if this was your first day watching a clip of professional wrestling, you're like, oh, that guy just sissied out and headed for the hills.
Yeah, it's not a good look. That's for sure. Not a good look for those in-house. And then, of course, it was video recorded. You want to make someone disappear. You make them disappear as dark as possible. They come in that way. Sometimes they're under the ring or whatever
Have
it is.
Have roll under the ring or something.
So, yeah, they really didn't do a good job with that. A couple of comments that just popped into the chat room. Gina Morelli says, because the Dallas Cowboys are badass. Gina, we may revoke your membership privileges to Thoughts Count Anywhere based on that, of course.
Do you see this hat? We've actually won a Super Bowl this decade.
That's right. Stan Morrow says, hey, Johnny Rock.
Hey, Stan, what's up?
Do you think Becky and Seth will drop their belts in Hell in a Cell to get married?
That is actually a really good question. I was actually considering that. I really think it's a possibility. However, as I've said on this show, I don't want the Fiend as a champion. I don't think he needs that in his storyline.
Not yet.
Not yet.
I think Seth and Becky are going to lose the belts to go to SmackDown.
You think so?
Fox is going to want all the top stars.
Well, I mean, it's clear they've got Brock Lesnar. They definitely want Brock Lesnar. And WWE has actually put out in a press release that they're trying to transition SmackDown into becoming the A show.
Correct. I mean, they've even got, the matches for SmackDown Live. You've got the 4 horsewomen. You've got Orton going over, or not Orton. Yeah, Orton and Kofi. Who's going? Oh no, Brock and Kofi.
Brock and Kofi.
Shane and Kevin Owens. They're going at it. But yeah, they are definitely trying to make it the A show. So,
and you've already got Roman over there. You've already got Charlotte over there. I don't see either of them moving brands. I see them keeping Seth. Seth, they might keep on Raw. Because you can't have everybody just jump ship. You need people on Raw. They're
not going to separate Becky and Seth.
Why not?
Where one goes, the other one's going.
They separate couples all the time.
I think once they're engaged or married, they
try to keep them together.
No.
Well, but it'll be interesting to see because that night is also they're doing the draft that night, right?
No, the draft is actually the following week.
Right, it's the following week.
Vegas.
We get part of the draft.
That's
here.
right. And hopefully we still have some rumored news about the possibility of SmackDown maybe including some of our fans. Hopefully we're working on.
That's right. Yeah, we'll hopefully know more next week, and we may be doing a live giveaway. So,
Matt, I'm going to ask you this question from Thomas Brunette. He's not liking Seth cowering to the Fiend. Okay, and then this one he asks, are either of you guys, any of us, going to any wrestling this weekend here in Vegas?
Well, yeah, we're going to Mecca. At least Matt and I are going to Mecca. Aaron, are you planning on going to Mecca?
Not at this time, but that doesn't mean my plans won't change.
We'll actually be discussing Mecca later on in the show. Yep. During we've actually structured the show now. We have an indie or a local corner, so to speak.
Hopefully, I'm also going to Ring of Honor. Death Before Dishonor pay-per-view Friday.
I'm going to see if I can swing that. That's just a timing issue for me, just because, I went the last 2 years. It's actually a good show.
It's always a good show.
Mm-hmm.
To those of you who are just tuning in, thank you for watching Thoughts Count Anywhere, coming to you live from Power Play Sports and Collectibles here in the Boulevard Mall in beautiful Las Vegas, Nevada. I am Aaron Phillips. That's Matt. That's Johnny the Rock down there. Call you the Rock now.
Finally, let's come back to podcasting.
We are 3 of the 4 Thoughtsmen. Our 4th guy is Scott. He's running around down in some parts unknown right now, causing havoc.
I think he ran into Little Miss Bliss in Knoxville and just decided to follow her to the next port of call.
Could be. Hey guys, even my wife tuned in. That's how interesting our shows are getting. My wife currently just joined the chat room.
She's just trying to check up on you.
Yeah, right.
He's really here.
This is not a pre-recorded show. The sound at the tone. Yeah, but here's the funny thing. I've been on the air for almost 14 years. This is the first show that I can think of her actually joining into for any length of time.
Interesting.
She bounces in and out of my other shows, but this is like 15 seconds longer than any other show because the other shows she's bounced in has been about 14.
We're winning.
We're winning. Exactly. So anyway, please remember to reshare us on your Facebook feed direct. Also, go to our Facebook page, like us, and share our Facebook page, Thoughts Count Anywhere, and share us with your friends and ask them to join as well. More exciting news will be coming down the pike from Thoughts Count Anywhere.
We even got some guests coming soon.
That's right. Spoilers. You'll have to watch our Facebook page for those announcements, right?
So So anyway, getting back to some other little takeaways I took from Raw and SmackDown.
Right on.
Thankfully, I could be speaking a little prematurely, but it seems like they may have somehow heard my brain screaming and dropped the whole Mike Kanellis storyline, because there was the only mention of that whole horrible storyline on Raw at all this week was a snide comment from The Miz while he was announcing the birth of his baby daughter. So congrats to The Miz and Maurice as well.
Oh, is that the comment he made about Maury?
No.
I thought he said that one. Somebody said Maury Povich will be coming to announce whose baby it is.
Oh yeah. Okay. So, but Rusev came out for a match with EC3, which, God, poor EC3.
Right.
He got squashed. But thankfully, nobody even made mention of Maria Kanellis at all. It was all very Rusev-centric. It was a good way to reintroduce the crowd to, hey, this is what Rusev does.
Yeah. I don't know why he's been, what the issue is with him. I mean, the guy came out like a bull in a china shop, so to speak, and had a great run with Lana, without Lana, face, with Aiden English, which I thought was a great gimmick with, Rusev Day and all of that. And to me, it just showed that every once in a while the WWE kills the good stuff.
You know why? Because Vince, at least it may have changed now recently. It's a very recent change.
Okay.
But Vince doesn't like the talent to manufacture their own pushes. He doesn't. And Rusev Day was something that Rusev said off the cuff, and it blew up like wildfire. And the writers tried to structure something around it, but eventually I think Vince torpedoed it because he didn't get it, or it wasn't what he envisioned. Vince is very old school in his booking, and I think he always wants to see. I think he always.
Johnny, is that you now? Have we hit the Triple Crown?
All three.
Okay,
We got the hat trick of phones. It should not be ringing.
I know, right? Oh God! No,
Listen, I want to appoint our fan Sammy. He's now the judge of our kangaroo court when we do stupid stuff on air. So he now gets to fine us. Okay, these 3 accidents are grandfathered in, so you can't charge us for that. But you are now the judge of our kangaroo court, Sammy.
Oh God!
So the pressure's on. The pressure's on us. Anyway, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, where was I? You were talking about kangaroo court.
Rusev.
So
Thank you.
Rusev Day caught
Yeah, the
fire.
cute guy over here.
But Vince always envisioned Rusev as like a foreign heel.
Right.
And all of a sudden he's selling shirts and he's getting Rusev Day chants, and all of a sudden he becomes overnight one of the biggest baby faces in the company just because of something he did like off the cuff.
Right.
Or something that like a writer pitched him that he just decided to go with.
But isn't that how Becky started the Man? Did she sort of do that on her own?
I think what happened was I think Vince finally realized after Rusev Day, after the Man, after the stuff Kevin Owens does, you can't fight a wrestler with natural charisma. You can't. I mean, it worked in the 90s. It's how we have Stone Cold. You know, the Austin 316 promo
right
from King of the Ring was completely off the cuff. That was literally Austin Austin's actually come out in interviews saying, I don't even remember saying it. It just spoke, and I spoke my way into wrestling history. You know, The Rock, 90% of what he said came up with off the fly. The Undertaker, none of these guys ever had scripted promos back in the 90s. The scripted programs started coming around, like I would say mid 2000s, kind of like the tail end of the Ruthless Aggression era.
Mm-hmm.
John Cena was very made for, that's why he stopped rapping.
Right.
Because he would come up with these freestyle raps off the cuff, and sometimes they pushed the boundaries of taste, like when he went off on the Big Show. Google that on the network. That's a pretty fun freestyle. It's a pretty fun freestyle. But that's where you had John Cena transitioning from the Doctor of Thugonomics to more of this white meat, Fruity Pebbles superhero babyface, Super Cena, because
Fruity Pebbles.
Right.
Fruity Pebbles.
So it was right around the time that they announced that they were being publicly traded, when Linda McMahon started focusing on her political career, the death of Chris Benoit, death of Eddie Guerrero, like a lot of these factors led to WWE kind of going from too hot for TV to really backing off into this PG era. And I think what we're seeing right now, especially with AEW looming on the horizon as competition, Vince is taking the reins off. He's letting wrestlers do their own promos. He's letting them, as evidenced by Bray Wyatt. He gave Bray Wyatt full creative control over his character, and now Bray Wyatt is the most hotly talked about topic. Same with Becky Lynch. So I think if Vince wants to stay competitive, especially because Cody Rhodes has come out and said, we're going to be very, very invested in wrestlers creating their own gimmicks and their own characters, I think Vince has to loosen the reins just to stay competitive.
Right.
Yeah, definitely.
Matt, I want to ask you about a match that's going to take place on the SmackDown show next week, and it's one that sort of has Daniel Bryan right now in a little bit of a gray area. As we know, Luke Harper made his reemergence last week at the last pay-per-view, or 10 days ago, to help Eric Rowan. They seem to have joined forces again, so Luke Harper, the dust has been taken off of him. Now, of course, they were double-teaming Roman Reigns, and then all of a sudden to come in and make the save has been one Daniel Bryan. And this past week on SmackDown, he brought back the yes chant. Where's Daniel Bryan, and what are your thoughts on the match, the tag team match next week of Roman Reigns and DB taking on Harper and Rowan?
Well, Daniel Bryan got a huge babyface pop. So I think the heel run is over. I think the yes is back. We're going to go see a little bit more of superhero white meat Daniel Bryan, which I'm actually really sad about.
Matt, you sounded just like Johnny. That was a great job of imitating his voice.
Sorry.
So, Matt, as I was saying,
I think he's going full baby face again
Okay,
because he's a really good heel.
he is.
I think he should kind of still be a heel because
Did they give it up too quickly though? Did they? Do you
I
think?
think so.
Oh,
yeah.
I always thought the end game was. I thought this was going to lead to a feud with him and Roman.
That was seemed to be with the car and all that other stuff. What the speculation was, right?
Well,
But they had no choice but to put Rowan into this because of the backstage footage. When the scaffolding went over, all of a sudden in the background you see Rowan walking by when supposedly he wasn't supposed to be there.
well, okay. So here's the one lingering question I have,
Mhm.
and again, I hope WWE creative has like a lightning storm about this. I really love the Daniel Bryan heel run.
Mhm.
I like seeing Daniel Bryan as this eco-terrorist, this very pro-planet. But
Well, his burlap sack title was
I'm buying that title.
I know it's on sale right
That was
now.
awesome.
On sale now at your
That's-
WWE.com
That's
shop
the belt.
store.
That's the
Is
belt.
that going to be in your collection?
That's the belt I want on my wall. Is the wooden,
The wooden one.
the hemp belt.
I think we can make one out of cardboard and get the same thing accomplished, right?
Even Mattel's making like the action figure version of it.
Well,
Of the belt?
Yeah.
Oh, I might invest in that
It's like
one
the
for $20.
first biodegradable or something.
is the
Like the
packaging-
box and the belt is like made of hemp.
Well,
Made of hemp?
This is the one lingering
Everybody be
question I
smoking
have.
their toys at home.
This is the one lingering question I have about that footage is when they released the footage and you saw Rowan in the background. Remember, debris fell from both sides, and I think there was a forklift involved. So
Well, yeah.
who drove the forklift? You could easily say it's Luke Harper, but now let's put on our awesome diabolical heel thinking caps. And what if it was Daniel Bryan the whole time, and he's
Right.
just mastermind? We've already seen Daniel Bryan play the long game with the Wyatt family.
Right. So that leads to another question. Is it possible that come Friday we'll see a 3-on-1 on Roman and Daniel's just playing Roman?
No. I think they're going to save it for the Hell in a which. Don't get me wrong. We're a week away from a pay-per-view, and only 3 matches have
Right.
been announced for it. One of them being that Harper and Rowan versus Daniel Bryan and Roman Reigns.
Right. And
So
that's October 6th is
what
that
if-
pay-per-view.
What if that becomes a tag match to a 3-on-1?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. I mean, Bryan maybe turn on Roman. I can't see Roman turning.
Oh God,
No.
Oh, Roman
So-
ain't ever
Roman-
gonna turn.
Hey, by the way, I want to mention someone who just jumped into the chat room. We know him here at Big Valley Wrestling as the exceptional Alexander Braven is actually in our chat room. So BVW has a card coming up on October 20th, which John and I will be at. We'll share more details about that in about another week or so.
October 20th.
Yep.
Yes.
That's the trick or treat one.
trick or treat in
Yep.
turmoil.
Yep, down at this Howard Event Center. So we'll be sharing more information about that in the next week or two. But Braven, thank you for joining us. Where's Ricky? What about Braven? Braven's here. What about Ricky? Where's Ricky? Come on.
He's singing karaoke somewhere. I'm sure.
He's practicing scales in the mirror right now.
The question is, his parents gave him money for singing lessons. I want to know what he did with the money because obviously he didn't use it towards singing lessons. I mean, geez. Anyway, so okay, so let's kind of take that stuff now, and we kind of sidestepped it a little bit. I want to segue into some of the more national indie stuff. So, fellas, I'll leave it.
Real quick, just a lot happened on NXT last week.
Okay, give us 2 or 3 highlights real quick.
They've officially been invaded by NXT UK
Okay.
with Walter and Imperium showing up,
Okay.
and not only just coming in and spoiling a match with Kushida, but also spoiling the main event between Matt Riddle and Killian Dane. So I see a lot of good storyline potential coming from that,
Okay.
and I hope they keep those guys around because I think they could be a benefit to both brands. It could also attract viewers to NXT UK.
Right on.
Also, as I mentioned at the top of the show, Undisputed Era has all the gold except for the women's title. So if Shayna Baszler decides to join the Undisputed Era, that would be perfect.
About that Roddy Strong picture.
Oh, that Roddy Strong picture. Oh man, just Google that. That was a great picture. We added it as the banner picture in one of my wrestling groups that I'm in on Facebook. And then another good thing is the return of Leo Rush. Guys, do you got any thoughts on Leo Rush? Because he was pretty under fire earlier this year.
Matt, I'll let you